Hello and welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Soebbing. Today we are in my bedroom because I'm going to show you how to take your quilting photos from this to this. And we're not going to use any fancy lighting. We're not going to use any fancy equipment, just your phone and natural light. And I'm going to show you how you can manipulate that within your own home to make your quilt photos look a lot better for Facebook, Instagram, or wherever it is that you want to show them. All right, so I'm starting off with just the quilt on my plain bed. This is not a good shot at this point because we have a lot of direct sunlight coming in and hitting the quilt right here, which makes it not be compatible. So I'm just going to take a quick photo so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, so at this point, if I'm going to come and take a photo, we can see the sun just came out from behind a cloud. It's lit very unevenly. So we have really bright light here and we have really dark light there. So you can see in the photo that it's just not being represented very well in terms of the color. And so your fabrics aren't showing up as good as they could. Your stitching isn't going to show up because it's not lit evenly. So there's a really easy way to fix that. And I'm just going to close my curtains over there. It's a nice soft linen-y fabric, and so it's still going to let a lot of light through, but it's going to be filtered light as opposed to you know, opaque, or right now we have the very uneven lighting. So we're going to fix that. All right, so now that those curtains are drawn, you can see the photo that I've laid over this, and we get much more even light that's coming in on this. So that's a south-facing window, so it lets in a lot of light. It's good for our plants, not so good for quilt photography. I also have another window over here on the never eat soggy waffles, so west side, and that one is not hitting the quilt directly, so I just have that window wide open and my curtains wide open on that one as well, so I can get as much light as I can, and that also helps light the top side of the quilt. So now that we have this evenly lit, we've got to add some throw pillows. So I have an obscene collection of throw pillows. I stole these from my couch. This one I bought when I was photographing my first book, and sometimes it's in my daughter's room, so a lot of times it is in the linen closet with my other obscene collection of throw pillows. But I like to have is ones that I use a lot in my colors. We all have our colors that we gravitate to. So if you've got a collection of throw pillows that you can easily flip in and out, then you can easily dress up your quilt and it'll look really nice and coordinated when you have it out on your couch or on your bed or something. And you don't always have to buy a whole pillow because sometimes that takes up a lot of space we don't always have. These were actually just pillow covers that went over another pillow. So if I ever have anything that's more of a coral color, I can pull that out and change that up. So what I like to have when I do this is I bought a couple years ago a nice gray bed covering. That way I don't have to think about what size a quilt is going to be and whether or not it's going to fit on my king size bed, because I rarely make a quilt that large anymore. So this way I can put something on top of it and it's gray on one side and taupe on the other. So whether it has a white or cream background, I've got a nice backdrop for it and it looks nice on the bed. So directly behind me I've got pillows that match my comforter, the gray ones. My main thing that I'm going for is one to bring everything forward a little bit. So that way it makes it feel a little bit more depth of field, gives your eye a couple of different things to look at besides just the quilt on the bed. And then the second thing I'm looking forward to is to have a nice addition to the staple back. I've got some color that is going to be mimicking the colors that are in the quilt. So these match really well. We've got that nice deep teal, and then we have these fun pinks, and it also has some metallic in it. And even though this doesn't have metallic, it kind of has that feel to it a little bit. So it just really works well with the pink that's in this quilt. So when I saw this, I was like, that's the one. So what I'd like to do is have my two king size pillows, or standards if you've got a queen, that would be fine. Two throw pillows, and then one of the, I think they're called lumbar pillows, the rectangle ones. It creates a nice little block between this seam so that the photograph's a little better and you're looking more at the color instead of like the gap between the pillows. And two, it gives you another chance to add that pop of color to bring in another color that's in the quilt and help make your photos look even better. All right, so now we're going to talk about some angles of photography, and I'm going to actually show you guys what I'm doing. I'm going to be standing on some chairs and you're going to see how tiny my bedroom is. We had hoped to move this year, but COVID kind of screwed up those plans. We're not excited about having strangers to our home in the middle of a pandemic, so we're just making do with what we have for a little bit longer. All right, so now it's time to actually photograph this quilt. Now, of course, I'm a little backlit here, but what matters is that the quilt is looking good. So the thing that I think most people are doing is they take their phone and they stand at the foot of the bed like this and they take a picture vertically. And we're gonna share that photo that I just took with you guys. And it's okay. It doesn't show the whole quilt. So I'm gonna turn it this way and turn it horizontally, and that's better. I can see more of the quilt, I can see more of the staging, but I'm still, you know, it's kind of a boring shot. And so there are a couple things you can do to make that cooler. If you want to be at the foot of the bed, what you should be doing is this should be your area for your close-ups. So you can come down here and you can get really close to what you're doing, get a little bit of that background in to give it some context. But if you tap on the photo, it'll focus it in on where you want it to be. So I'm tapping right in the center and I am focusing it on that fabric. So that way it is focusing right here on this part instead of the pillows in the back. So I'm going to show off my fabric and my quilting for this. All right, so now if I tap right here, that will show up. I've got my nice little square there, and that shows me where the light is focusing and pulling. And I can take my picture. Do the same thing vertically. I always do vertical and horizontal shots of the same section. So I'm trying to get it as square as I can. I'm gonna tap that down there, get my camera focused, and then go. So if right in front of your quilt isn't the best place to stand, where should you stand? Well, that's gonna be right off to the side. Either 45 degrees to the right or left is a great place to start taking a shot. I'm gonna take a couple of shots from this angle, and then I'm gonna get on a chair to get an even better view. All right, so I've got it pretty well framed up here. I can see the top of the bed, and I can also see most of the quilt. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a photo. And then I always, like I said, turn it this way too. And I'm kind of angling my phone down a little bit. I'm not taking it straight on, I'm angling that down. That way I'm getting a more of an overhead shot and I can see more of what's going on. All right, that was okay, but we can still do better. What's best, and one of the most magazine shots that I see that do really well is if you can't get a quilt upright, if it's going to be laying flat on a bed, one of the best things to do is to get yourself up higher. So I'm going to go grab a chair from the kitchen table. You could also use a step stool if you need a little bit more stability. Obviously, this is not a good idea if you have balance issues or you think you might fall off of the chair. But if you feel like you're sturdy, then this is highly recommended, but do be careful. All right, so I've positioned this chair at the foot of the bed and I'm going to use it to get an overhead shot of that quilt. All right, so I'm going to shoot a little video with my phone so you can see the angle as I'm talking about it. So here's what I'm seeing as I'm looking down from above, and I can see a whole lot more of the piecing. Everything looks a lot more even. I can get a little bit of framing in with those throw pillows that we put in, and I'm just going to climb down. So this is the same angle, I'm in the same location, but it just doesn't look as good as if I get myself up just a little bit higher, like this. All right, so I'm gonna start by taking a couple of wide shots that are horizontal. And notice I've got that phone angled down again too. I'm not going straight on, got it angled down. Then I'm gonna do a couple that are more straight on, and then I'm gonna repeat that vertically. So I've got it angled down again. I can see almost all the quilt like this. I'll bring it down a little bit. And I think I've got some good shots here, so I can get off of the chair and then I can get some detail shots. All right, so now I'm going to get down and shoot a few detail shots. Again, I'm going from that same 45-degree angle. You want to kind of tell a story with your pictures, and if you kind of shoot them all from the same angle, then it makes more sense to the eye. So if you're constantly flipping to the other side, then all of a sudden, like, you know, here I'm looking this way, but if we shoot me from the other angle, now I'm looking this way, and your mind doesn't compute that very well. So you want to pick a side and stay on that. Talk about stuff in the background. You can see my pallet pillows and laundry that needs to be hand washed. So I'm going to get down real close and shoot from here. I'm going to shoot some video on my phone so you can kind of see what I'm seeing as I look. So I'm getting down and kind of crouching and getting on the level with it. This is also good tips if you're photographing kids or pets. You want to get level with the thing it is that you are photographing for better results. So here we have this, and here we're going to do some nice detail shots to show off my quilting. And we can see that color in the background, which is accentuating the quilt, but it's not overpowering it. So I'm going to take a couple of shots like this. I'm probably going to come in and get some detail shots of that fabric as well. So this one is not intricate piecing, but you certainly could do this if you had some piecing you really wanted to show off. All right, so that is how I photograph the quilts. Again, we're gonna start with lighting. You wanna make sure you don't have direct light coming in. So if you have some shades that are pretty see-through, those are perfect. Just close it over and then you can have consistent lighting. Second, you're gonna wanna find some things around your house that you can use to stage it a little bit. Grab some throw pillows that coordinate, throw it on top of another plain quilt. Like I said, I've got my gray one that I really like, and it makes everything look good, and it's taupe on the other side, so if I have a cream quilt, I can use that. And then also, you're going to want to think about your angles. Standing straight in front of the quilt and photographing it, not always going to provide the best results. If you're able to go from the corner, and if you're able to climb on a step stool or a chair to get yourself a little taller so you can look down, that's going to provide the best results. And lastly, make sure you're thinking about ranges of shots. You want to show the whole quilt, but you also want to show a mid-range shot where you're seeing maybe half of the quilt and the throw pillows that you decorated it with, and then also the close-up shots to show off your piecing, the fabric, especially if it's one you're really proud of. You want to be able to show off that really good piecing, that really good quilting. I hope that helps you take better photos at home to share on Instagram or Facebook, wherever it is you're sharing your photos. And until next time, happy quilting.